This week's live chat is about puppies and about the first few weeks they're in your home, what to do, what to focus on. My advice for puppies often goes against the normal kind of advice that you might hear, so this could be quite interesting chat for you to join. I will save this as I do with all my other live chats too, so I'm aware that everyone in this group already has dogs, possibly already has adult dogs, and maybe the puppy chat may not be super relevant to you, but you may know of someone that it's relevant to, or it may just be an interest of yours, or you're thinking about getting a puppy in the future. So I now predominantly focus on dogs with behavioural issues. So I'm a behaviour specialist, that's my love, that's my passion. But of course, a lot of behaviour problems stem from when dogs are puppies. So it's as they're growing up, quite often they're in really loving homes, really supportive homes, and homes where they are, trying the hardest to do everything right, but still you get behavioural problems occur. So a lot of things can start really, really young. Sometimes they can start as young as 6 weeks before the owner even gets them in their home. Sometimes they can start the breeders, sometimes they can start in the early days of being in their new home. Sometimes it's a problem that grows. Things can be genetic. Things can just be, like nature, there's nurture, there's all kinds of reasons why dogs do as they do. But I just want to talk about what I suggest people do with their puppies for the first few weeks. Usually you get them at about 8-9 weeks of age. That's quite normal. So sometimes you get them a bit older, sometimes things get in the way and they stay with the breeder a bit longer. Some breeders like to hang on to them a little while longer. But if we go with the assumption your puppy is 8 to 9 weeks old when you get them, for the purpose of this. So they've only known life in that environment at their breeders with their siblings and their mum, potentially other dogs within the breeders as well. That may have happened, but that's all they've ever known. So when we go and get them, they didn't know we were going to get them. They didn't know that they were going to be taken away from everything they've ever known, all that safety, that security. That's all they believe happens. They have no knowledge of anything outside of that. They've never had walks. They may have gone to the vets, or the vets may have come to them, depending. But the chances are they actually don't have much understanding of anything in the outside world. So they didn't ask to be here. Puppies didn't ask to be here. Dogs didn't ask to be here. No puppy knew it was going to be bred. No dog knew they were going to be bred from. And no puppy asked to go into someone's house. So we make all the decisions. We very much decide we're going to go and get a puppy. We're going to go and get a puppy and we're going to bring it into our home. And now the puppy's going to live how we want it to. It's quite rude, really, isn't it? The way that we are about dogs. We just assume that they are now going to do exactly what we want them to do, regardless of how they feel about it, and that we're going to take them from everything they know and then go, you will now fit in with everything I'm doing. And they're not a lesser species, they're actually very, very superior in lots of ways. You think the way they can detect cancer, their sense of smell is incredible. Their sense of direction is certainly better than mine. They're often faster than we are. They can be stronger than we are. Like that, they're really a great species, dogs. But for some reason, we inflict the way that we want them to be on them. So of course they live in a human world, which is quite difficult for them. It's easier for some more so than others, as we spoke about in the last chat. Some are more domesticated than others. But it's important that we try and get it right from the start, that we really support them in the way that is the most valuable to them living in our life and the most valuable to them feeling completely secure and able to focus and live in the way that we want them to. So the first mistake that people generally tend to make is they think already about, what do I need to teach this dog? What have I got to train them? And what classes am I going to take them to? What trainer am I going to use? What equipment am I going to have? And it's all very, very heavy on the training and the how can I get them to be okay being left alone? Now, don't get me wrong, training's important. Finding the right trainer is important. And so is the dog being able to be left alone as they grow up. Once they're no longer in that very, very sensitive stage, it is important that they're able to be left alone. But it shouldn't be the focus. Quite often, when I've worked with puppy owners, or I've had people sort of come to me, it is, how do we get them to be left alone? I've got to go, I have work, child's got school, I've got, you know, this and that in my life, how do I get them to be left alone? And it is an important part, but it should not be the main focus. That comes in time. That comes with as they're growing up, as they get more adjusted, and we could do things gradually. Same with training. Training should not be the focus at all. So the things that I teach dogs are very different to what other people probably teach dogs. And I'm going to talk through with you at the minute what my main focus is when I have a puppy. So we're going to go into classes as well and trainers and things like that too, because that's really, really important. But first of all, the main thing that I want my puppy to know is where to go to feel safe. So that is in the house and out of the house. Where do you go to feel safe? Now, the place where I want them to go is to me. I am your safety. If you feel unhappy, scared, insecure, anything, you come to me and I will protect you. And by that, I don't mean I pick them up, and I don't mean that I do anything crazy. I just mean I will always be there. I am aware of what's going on around the puppy. And if I think something is too much, I will crouch down, I will be there for them, I will keep things out of their space, whether it be dogs, whether it be people. I'm very much a voice for my puppy. If someone is too excitable, too in their face, too stroking them on their heads and they don't like it, or perhaps they're being a child's being too much, you bet your life I will speak up. I definitely do. I'm a protector of my puppies, and I make sure that my puppy feels completely safe at all times. Now that's the same in the house or out of the house. Same with dogs when they approach. Now there is a lot of setting up that I will talk about as well, which everyone can do. But when it comes to dogs, I make sure that I am crouched down. I am protecting the space around my puppy. I will let dogs say hello, that's fine. But if the puppy comes to me and they don't seem confident and they don't seem like they want to say hello, I don't make them at all. I will sit there, I make them feel safe with me. They can move away if they want to, they can come closer to me if they want to, they can go under my legs, but I'm kind of crouched down and my body is protecting the space around my puppy. And that's the same as if they see a bin bag. To them, a bin bag can be terrifying. That can be hugely, hugely frightening to a puppy, or an adult dog for that matter. And I will crouch down in the same manner. I won't try and make them go towards it and try and make them see it's okay. We're very, very forward about that as owners, you know, like, oh, we want them to be okay with it. Why? Just sit and support them. Let them see that if they're with you, you'll keep them safe. Jackson's safe space is a middle. Yes, Suze, yeah. So that's a middle is where a dog comes around your legs, they sit in between your two legs and they face the same way you are or look up at you. So yeah, a middle is a safe space because it's in between you, you're very much protecting there, and that's a valuable area. So that is first and foremost. I want them to always feel safe with me. I want them to know that if I'm with you and you're with me, you are safe from things, and I will do my best to protect you. The reason for a lot of that is the mistakes that I had made with previous puppies where you know, you kind of taught, I don't know if anyone else was taught this, but I very much was, that they need to go, you know, you're walking, therefore they have to go with you. They'll get over things. They'll be all right. They'll learn to be okay with it. And, you know, just letting dogs put them in their place and things like that. And what they actually learn is if they're with you, they're not safe. You won't protect them. You're part of the problem. You will go and put them somewhere where they don't feel safe and then make them deal with it. So I now do not do that at all with puppies, and I don't advise anyone do it either. Sometimes it can be unintentional, but you really need to be careful of the positions you're putting your puppy in the house, in the garden, out on walks, in any environment. And that goes for groomers, for vets, for anything. I make certain that they feel safe, even if it takes multiple trips. And we'll talk about groomers and vets as well. So me, I am a safe place. In the home, I want them to also have a safe place where they choose. So I try and heavily influence where I want this space to be by making it comfy, making sure there's toys there, there's chews there, I feed them there. I very much make it the nicest area I can. Now for me, this is often a soft mesh kind of pen type area. I have used crates in the past, nothing wrong with crates. My throwing skills of treats is incredibly poor. So if I'm throwing treats, usually it'll bang off a crate and fling off. So it's a bit harder for me to reward from a distance when my throwing skills are so shocking. So I tend to use mesh open pens instead. You can use a room, you can use a sofa or a bed that maybe is quieter space. It's up to you where you want to use, wherever's going to fit best. But you want your dog to have a safe space where they can go and chill out, have their own time. If they want to, they can settle there and they're completely kind of left alone there. That's their space, and it's really valuable, high value space that they've had a lot of they get a lot of value put into it in the form of food, toys, chews and things. It's like a treasure hunt. It's a brilliant place to go. So 2 safe spaces. Me, safe space that could be portable. You know, this is the other valuable thing about pens and sometimes crates as well. You can take them with you. Boundary beds are great. So I don't know if any of you have seen the photos of Bosun. He lays on a hammock bed. So boundary bed, hammock bed. They're slightly off the floor by about this. So what that means is there's a lot of airflow underneath. It's very comfy because it's not on a floor, so it's easier on joints. We put a vet bed on top of it. It's literally just here next to me at the minute. That's why I'm looking that way. And that's movable. It's really light to move around, and we do move it. It goes every day. It goes from the front room into the garden, from the garden into the front room, in here. It's in here at the minute. But that's a really helpful space as well. So you want it to be a comfy space. It's got a lot of good stuff there and a lot of reinforcement history and value and reward history for this particular space. So that's a safe space, and I'm a safe space. That's my main focus. That is absolute paramount over anything else at all that you can teach a dog. So forget your training, forget anything else. I want them to feel safe with me, feel safe in a space. Build confidence in providing new experiences. Lots and lots of dogs do the same things, the same places, the same everything. They kind of gain confidence in certain areas, but they never expand on that. The less experiences your dogs have, the less their brains can kind of mould and grow and really gain a lot of confidence in that way. So the more that puppies can explore, the more that interactions they can have with different things, different experiences, different locations, different smells, different people, different dogs, all of this grows their learning history, and it builds confidence at the same time. So you can be quite specific about certain elements of confidence you want to grow, but generally providing lots of new experiences that end well, you know, that start well, middle well, end well, are positive experiences. So I like to build a lot of confidence in those, and that might mean going here, there and everywhere with my puppy. But I put so much time into puppies when I first get them, because you've got 15 years potentially of this dog. You need to make sure you're getting it right. There's no point in getting one and half-assing it. You've got to really go at it with everything that you want them to be great with. Main priority as well is teach them how to do nothing, how to be completely comfortable, confident in their surroundings, confident in themselves, that they can just lay there and do nothing. Quite often fidgety dogs and dogs who can't settle or can't relax because they have to be involved in everything is because they've not been given the opportunity to explore enough to feel relaxed where they are. They've not had those different experiences, and they've not kind of grown a confidence in themselves to know that they can just chill here. They can just lay here and do nothing. I put so much value into dogs doing absolutely nothing and puppies doing absolutely nothing. If I see a puppy doing nothing, you bet your life I'm going to go and reward the life out of it, because I want them to learn to do nothing and to find value in doing nothing. Because if you have a puppy who you can take anywhere and it will do nothing if you ask them to, or if you happen to stand still and it'll go, okay, we'll just chill and do nothing then. And they're confident in that. That's so valuable. For life, that's brilliant. Rebecca says, hiya, what age would you say you're past the puppy stage? It depends on what you mean by the puppy stage. So there's different stages of growing up. There's different sensitive periods that they go through. And I generally class dogs as puppies in the mind until they're 3 years of age, even though their bodies are usually pretty huge by that point. But their mind is still very puppy-like. It's still absorbing new things till they're 3. There's a sensitive socialising period, which most people know of, which is 6 to 16 weeks. The reason that is the sensitive period is because that is when they absorb the most information that often sticks with them the longest for life. So that is where they kind of create their first associations with things, between 6 and 16 weeks. There are fear periods which kick in as well. So you get a fear stage, you get secondary fear stage, you get different waves as well of fear and socialising difficulties as they're growing up until they're about 3. So I would say 3, if that's the question you're asking. But if you mean puppy-like, about 16 weeks. but there's also another one at 6 months, they go into a different phase as well, depending on the breed or cross. Claire says Rolly is 2 and can still be very puppy-like. Yeah, yeah, they're huge, but they don't realise. Yes, I want them to be completely comfortable doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. Best thing in the world to a puppy. That's what I want them to learn. Travelling is huge. I can't tell you how much emphasis I can put on that, as you need to get your puppy to be completely comfortable and super chilled out about travelling. Now, I know there are a couple of possibly older puppies right now in this group who I get some lovely photos of them when they're chilling in the car and they're travelling and they fall asleep. They love it. You put them in the car and they go, yay! They just go to sleep, and they're so used to travelling everywhere that they love it. Now, I know as well there are also people in this group who have dogs who travelling is such a struggle. Getting in a car is such a struggle. Travelling is a struggle. So I'm certainly not making light of travelling, but it really, really needs a lot of emphasis put on it so that they can be completely comfortable and you can take them anywhere. Because throughout your puppy's life, throughout, say, the next 15 years, you're going to want to go on holiday potentially in where you're going to drive. They're going to need to go to the vets. They're going to need to go to the groomers possibly, depending on the breed type. The chances of your vets and your groomers being on your doorstep without the use of a car is very slim. You might move house in the next 15 years. Might have to move house. You usually need a car for that. The dog usually needs to be okay with travelling for that. What if you can't walk the dog, you can't care for the dog for some reason, or you go away and someone needs to look after them? You may have to take the dog somewhere, you might have to go to kennels or daycare or family member. So the car is important, even if you don't plan on using it every day or even every week. Just making sure your puppy is confident and comfortable about a car, really important. So really, really important. And just not even being overexcited in a car, because I know some dogs love the car and they really love the car and they're very excitable. That's better than not liking the car. It's better to be fearful of a car, but I personally prefer the chilled effect in the car. I like them to be able to travel in a car, and when you pull up somewhere, they don't go into a barking fit, or they don't start getting super excited and spinning around and, you know, yay, we're getting out. That's not the best way to start a walk or an exercise or meeting people or going to someone's house or grooming or whatever it might be you're going to do. That's not the best way to do it. So I quite like them to be chilled in the car. A car journey doesn't mean anything. Like chilling out, laying down, doing nothing means nothing. So does car travel. Means nothing. Toilet in the garden, please. That should have been the first one, shouldn't it? That is definitely something I put a lot of emphasis into. As you'll see, that's the first place I put a puppy. When they come home, they go in the garden before they even come in the house. And that is so they can throw up and wee and poo out there first. And it sets the scene and the route for where we're going, which is please do everything in the garden. Yes, there may be accidents, but I'm going to very, very heavily reinforce the puppy going to the toilet in the garden. I'd imagine that's probably standard across most dog trainers and dog behaviourists. We like the puppies to toilet in the garden. That's quite normal. I have actually heard more recently of quite a few breeders recommending that the puppies do not go in the garden even until they've had their second vaccination, which personally, not advice that I agree with. I want them to go in the garden because that's where I need them to toilet for 15 years. So that is where I will put them definitely. Just thought I'd throw that out there, random fact. I like them to be good with collar holds. So as much as I don't like invading space, there will be time in your dog's life where you may have to grab their collar suddenly. You may have to hold them back from something. You never know. You might have to hang on to them suddenly. So I like to teach them that my hand coming to your collar means food. Me touching here means food. Me moving your collar slightly means food. It's a really positive thing. Lots of praise, lots of food. And I don't grab at them because, you know, in emergency you might, but there's no need to do that when you're practicing. You don't have to, you know, frighten the dog and bang them in the neck. But in general, I like them to be okay. So if I have to touch your collar, if I have to move it about, and if I have to, you know, guide you with it, not pull you with it, there is a difference. But, you know, if I have to just hang on, I want the puppy to be completely confident and comfortable with that and just go, okay, that's fine, that's normal. Because if you never do it, it's never normal. So you need them to be okay with that. And you don't know, people do strange things. On walks, I've had people just hold my dog before. They weren't doing anything, but they've just held on to them. I'm like, what are you doing? It's a bit weird, let go of my dog. But people do strange things. So you want your dog to be completely comfortable with the collar being held. They might not be okay with strangers, but you want them to be okay with the collar being held. So likewise, vets, groomers and handling. Now, the usual reasons why puppies and dogs don't like places like the vets and places like some grooming they're not a fan of. The reason for that is because they usually only go, certainly to the vets, if there's something wrong. It's unlikely you're going to take your dog to the vet unless they're having a vaccination, a microchip, a neutering, or unless they're feeling pretty naff. Now, obviously, I know that there are like the vet checks that people do annually, but by this point, the dog's already got quite a negative association with the vets. So going is actually quite traumatizing. So Obi does not chill in the car. No, I can imagine not. So yeah, vets, dogs do not like vets or cannot like vets. So from a young age, your puppy being completely loving a vet is brilliant, and your vet will love you for that as well. I know it's been really difficult over like the COVID situation for getting into a vet because you can't go in with them, or couldn't go in with them. You can now in some places. But because of that, that meant you couldn't do the multiple puppy vet visit trips that you would otherwise do. So I do a lot of that. Granted, I've not had a COVID puppy, but I wouldn't get a puppy in COVID just because there's things that I wouldn't have been able to do. But it's in general, I take puppies to the vet on a regular basis for fusses from the receptionist, to learn how to put themselves on the weighing scale, so treats on there, get them really happy about weighing themselves, and getting fusses from the vet and coming out again. I do loads of those in and around the vaccination visits, in and around microchipping things. I mean, they should have been microchipped by their breeder already, but sometimes that doesn't happen. So I just like them to make sure that they see the vet as a lovely place, not as a scary place. So with regards to groomers, so bear in mind, I said this is like a talk for the first few weeks. It's first few weeks of things you need to be thinking about, not necessarily doing in these first few weeks, because you wouldn't be taking the puppy multiple times to the groomers and the vets in the first couple of weeks. You might, but ideally you'd probably let them settle a bit more first. So groomers, usually dogs, certain breeds of dogs have to go every 4 to 6 weeks to do a groomers. Some breeds of dogs like Bosun never need a groomer. I can bath them in the shower every year, maybe. They don't need it a lot. But there are some breeds of dog who do have to go regularly. So that means not only do they have to be completely comfortable with handling, combing, claw clipping, washing, bathing, drying, all of that, they also have to be completely okay with a stranger doing it, sometimes around a lot of other dogs. So these are all things you have to think about. They have to be completely happy with it. So getting them very, very happy about grooming sessions, really, really mini ones, 30 seconds to a minute to begin with, where you're just playing with their fur, calmly stroking them, getting them used to having their toes felt in between, looking in their ears, their eyes, checking their teeth, giving them like nice lots of fusses with it, and just combing out a little bit of fur and then stopping. You don't have to do great big long grooming sessions, but you have to get them used to it. So they have to be okay with that. And by okay, I don't mean tolerating. I mean, we want them loving it, so that the groomer goes, oh, I love having this dog. Every time I have your dog, it's such a great dog. Your puppy's brilliant every time they come in here. They're so easy. That's what you want your groomer saying, because that means your puppy is happy. If your puppy is not happy, you may get reports back from the groomer, but it's likely that they're actually stressing out every time. And it's not that nice if every 4 to 6 weeks they have to go to a groomer and they are stressed for that length of time that they have to be there. So if that's another thing that I also thought about. I personally, now having had spaniels for a very long time, would never have a breed of dog that requires grooming by someone who isn't me. I'm far too lazy to do proper grooming. I'm no good at it either. I've tried, I used to have to clip Pudge. He had a lot of train tracks. Didn't look good. But I would only ever have one so I don't have to do that, because for me, it's just, I would rather have a short-coated breed who doesn't have to have the experience with groomers every 4 to 6 weeks. Now, there are things nowadays called fear-free groomers and fear-free vets, which are brilliant. You can look it up online. You can find ones which are, and what that means is they do not put any stress or pressure on your dog to groom them or to do veterinary treatments with them. They do everything as fear-free as possible. They do lots of choice-based things, which I'm a huge, huge fan of. and you can find them online. So look for the fear-free certified vets and groomers. Another thing that I want to put a lot of focus into is know your name means run at me, and run at me. So if I say my puppy's name, I want them to think, oh, this is the best thing ever, run, mum's there. You know, that's really what I want them to do. So I never use a puppy's name in a negative way, ever. I don't use their name to stop them doing anything. I don't use their name to, well, I don't tell dogs off anyway, there's no point. But I don't use their name in a negative way or in a sudden way. It's always in a really positive way. So if they hear their name, they know that means run at me. And you do that really easy. You can call them for their food. You can call them when you've got a chew or something nice for them. Practice it in the house, in the garden, when they're in different areas to you, and when, you know, even if they're near, you can throw something away to get them. I mean, puppies are really easily distracted, so you can just like kick a leaf and they'll go off for a bit. But I teach them that if I call your name, it means I'm going to be placing something in between my legs. So I stand with my feet apart, call them, and I bend down, so they've got a visual cue straight away, visual. I'm putting treats in between my feet, and then they run at me. They can eat the treats, so which means they're coming in with 4 feet, not with 2 feet and leaping up. They're learning to run in and put their face on the floor. They then get fusses all over their back, their neck, everywhere there, which is where harnesses sit, it's where collars sit, and it's where other people might stroke them. So they're getting lots and lots of value there, and just learning to run at you. So I start increasing distractions around when I do this. So first of all, it's just house and garden. Then I start doing it on the front garden. I do it in other people's gardens because I take my puppies everywhere. They literally go everywhere. And I then start doing it on walks as well, when it's easy for them to do it. So to begin with, I only call a puppy when I'm 99.9% certain they're going to come to me, because I want them to have 100% history of, I hear my name and I run at you. That's what I want them to think the association with hearing their name is, because so many dogs don't have that, because we overuse their name. We use it when we talk about them, we use it when we talk to them, we use it when we're trying to interrupt something, and you end up with a dog who'll just look at you and go, what? And then that's it. Or they just ignore it completely because they know you're probably not talking to them, or there's nothing for them, they don't quite understand what you want, so they just go, don't get it. So you want their name to have meaning. That is one of the only kind of trainee things that I do, is recalls. And that's because I would much rather have a dog who I can have off lead in almost every single scenario, minus next to roads, of course, because that would be unsafe. Almost every scenario my dog is off lead, my puppy is off lead, sorry. So I need that recall to be strong. And I also have puppies off lead from day one. I personally do not use leads, other than, as I'm going to explain to you in a little bit, about how I do loose lead walking with them. But I don't go out with the lead on. I do drive to safe space, dog needs to be okay with travel, and then put them on the floor and they learn to follow me about, I follow them about, and we kind of have a nice mutual walk together. Bear in mind, puppies can't walk for that long. We'll get onto it. I'm jumping ahead. We'll get onto it. So gradually meeting people in the house. So for the first day, no one goes in, no one comes out. That's the policy I have. If I have a puppy in the house, no one leaves this house and no one comes into it for the first 24 hours this puppy's here. So the reason for that is it allows them to get used to who is here. There's not too much noise, there's not too much movement, there's not too much excitement near the door. It's just the people are here and we live here. And nothing too frightening or exciting happens. Because it helps allow them to relax. Bear in mind, the puppy's not been in your home that long. They've not been in the world that long, let alone your home. So we want them to be completely comfortable. I then set people up to come round. So I don't leave anything to chance when it comes to puppies. I make sure that the first 20 people that come into my house are well prepared. They know exactly what I want them to do. And what I ask them to do, I go and speak to neighbours, I have family, friends, colleagues, you know, people you've worked with. I will go and ask them, can you come round to the house? Can you ignore the puppy exists, please? And then in a few weeks, I'll invite you again. And then I want you to interact with the puppy. But right now, I need you to ignore the puppy. Ignore the life out of my puppy, please. Because what I need them to be okay. And I need them to be completely confident. So confident enough to say hello to someone, but not excited enough to keep jumping at them. So I get them used to people coming in, but completely ignoring the fact that they're even there. And the reason for it is so simple, is it makes it a non-event. If they just get used to people coming over and they don't have to get really excited, they don't have someone bending over staring at them going, oh, you're really cute, like people do, and they're all handsy, it can create a lot of fear in puppies. And there's so many puppies and dogs who will jump all over visitors. And the reason for it is they're actually incredibly anxious about the person being there, but they know this person's going to touch them and interact with them. So they try and get it out the way. They leap all over them first and they get too silly in OTT. So quite often when I go for behaviour consultations, I will ignore the dog completely. I might just go, hiya, and then that's it. And they say, oh, they've calmed down really quick. They never do that. They normally like it for hours. I know. It's because they're not comfortable with that interaction with strangers. And people always over stare at them, over touch them, overdo everything. It makes them crackers. So instead, you teach people to ignore them. They calm down a lot quicker. So the confidence goes up, the excitement goes down. So that's the way I set puppies up to be. The first 20 people in this house are not going to look at my puppy at all. I then start re-inviting people over. Okay, so can you come over? And this time, can you just offer your hand down when a puppy comes over, tickle under the chin, you know, nice and gentle, do a couple of seconds and take your hands away. Or I might say, can you give them a Kong? So I'll mix and match what people do. Some people might sit down on the floor and stroke them. Some people might give a Kong. Some people might ignore. So they start to see, yes, people are positive, but you don't have to get over it. We've not got that excitement injection in them straight away. Just check the questions. How does the going and leaving work with school children? Do you pick puppy up at a weekend to avoid that? Yeah, generally, I would choose to pick a puppy up. It depends on your home life, really. I would choose to pick a puppy up on a Friday. And I would, if I was a working person who worked out, obviously I appreciate not everyone has my job where you're at home a lot, I would book a big substantial amount of time off work. I would be saving up my holiday dates for this puppy and take them together. So my holiday dates, and then my other half, if I have another half, which I luckily do, would then be their holiday dates following mine. So you can start to gradually leave in the puppy. You build that in, but it's not sudden. When it comes to school trips, I actually would usually take them with me for school trips. So when they're little, you can carry them. This is the beauty of it. You can actually carry them. Or you could, if you know, one of you could stay back with them whilst one takes the children to school. It depends on your scenario, your situation, really. It would depend on a lot, but I would suggest that that the puppy goes with you. Or because see, some puppies are brilliant. Some have already had such a great association with a certain area, you know, a crate or a pen or something, and they're super chilled and they sleep because, as we're going to go on to, puppies sleep a lot. So they might be super sleepy. You might be able to leave. It might not be a problem depending on how long you're out for. If it's a 10-minute walk across the road, that might actually not be bad. It does depend. But I would say for the early stages, I take them with me or someone's with them, just so that they're not developing anxiety young. I still remember you making me drop Summer's lead at 14 weeks old. I was terrified. LOL, now she's never on lead and has 99% recall. See, awesome, well done. And that's true. It's so many people keep their puppies on leads because they want to protect them and, you know, they want to keep them safe. And I understand that, but it does half cause some problems. You really do. And we'll talk about that when we get onto classes and leads and puppies and dogs and things, because it causes so much frustration, so many social issues, fears, so many problems through keeping them on a lead. Drop it all, get them off. The earlier the better. So Lisa, you wouldn't even get in the door here. I so wish I'd had that critical stage with Zeus. I know. See, and this is where a lot of this talk comes from, is because I see so many problems in dogs and I'm trying to help people prevent it from ever happening, because it can happen so easily. Obviously, I know Zeus had a hideously, you know, not nice time. And he has there's a lot of reasons why he is as he is. But even some who've had that lovely kind of upbringing and that really, really nice, that nice home, but they've just not quite nailed what visitors mean. They've either not had enough of them, or they've been super OTT kind of people, or the puppy was in a fear stage at the time when people came in and they didn't see them before. That can actually cause visitor aggression as well. So this is why it's important to get it right. It's important to put this knowledge out there. So yeah, I want dogs to be very nonchalant and very not bothered about visitors, and visitors to be that way about the puppy. That's the way I like it to be to begin with, and then gradually build things in. Now I know obviously some breeders who do a brilliant job have a lot of people in, like my mum's friend did, to sit and cuddle with the puppies and things. That is fine. And the reason that is fine is because they feel so super safe in that environment, because that's all they've ever known. Mum's there, siblings are there, smells safe, feels safe, and they have people come in to do cuddling with them. That's lovely because that's positive. It's all nice touching, it's great, and they're not in a fear stage either. They're in their confident little bit there. So when they then come to your home, they're on their own. They don't have siblings there to help them feel safe. They don't have mum there who's going, yeah, it's fine, you'll be all right. And being super happy to see someone. You know, maybe she's really chill but really happy about seeing people. Puppies will follow that. When the puppy's on their own in your home, in an environment they've never been in, and then they get these strange people coming through the door, that's when you get problems. So I do actually like breeders who do that, who do have the puppies in, people in to see the pups. I really enjoy that because I think that's so good for them to get the nice positive bit to begin with. And then when they come into your home, you can then continue it with it being quite a non-event before you put in any further positive association with them. So move on to exercise. As I said, when I walk puppies, they don't have leads on. So the reason for that is they cause more problems than they solve. The only thing a lead should be used for is to stop your dog getting hit by a car. That's it. So as I said, because I do collar holds where I like them to enjoy collar holding, lots and lots of rewards there. And I also teach them to settle in different environments, do nothing, be confident enough to do nothing. That means if I happen to pass a dog who's on lead, now I very much know if there is a dog on lead, you do not let your puppy go up to it, ever. And I don't care if someone says, oh no, it's fine, he's friendly. I won't let my puppy go over because of the barrier of frustration that dog could have that will then be all paws at my puppy, which could be frightening. So I only mix puppies with off-lead dogs. I don't mix them at all with dogs on lead. So they also learn to condition that way too. That if a dog's on lead, you don't mix with it. It's only ones who are free and ones who approach that you mix with. So because they've had, as I say, they can settle, I can hold on to them. I will do that if I see a dog on lead. And we do different things. We do reward the floor, we do watch me's, you know, a bit of rewarding. I might do a bit of a scatter feed, which is dropping treats in the grass. I'll do things like that when a dog is on lead going near. So the puppy's still safe, the puppy is not in danger. Generally speaking, puppies, when you have to wait till they've had their second vaccination by advice from the vets before you can take them out. Now for some puppies, that could be about 12 weeks old. For some, that can be 16 weeks old plus. In my opinion, if you're waiting till 16 weeks old to socialise your puppy and to take them out, they are now going to be in a bit of a different stage. They're now not in the I need you stage. They've kind of missed that learning, that critical sponge stage where everything's going in, and you may have to use a long line instead of just having them off lead because they don't have that strong attachment to you as much anymore, just because of the age group that they're now in. And they should sleep for 20 hours out the day. Now, usually when I tell puppy people this, they laugh at me. Puppy owners go, no, they definitely don't sleep for 20 hours out the day. That is usually why there's struggles, why they're having struggles with different things, because the puppy isn't sleeping anywhere near enough. And some really fight it, you know, but sometimes it can be just because the household isn't calm enough for the puppy to sleep in, or because they're not able to sit with their person enough to switch off and sleep properly. There could be many reasons why puppies don't sleep a lot, but 20 hours out of the day is what you need to be aiming for until they're about 16 weeks old. Then it drops a little bit to about 18 hours a day, and once they hit 6 months, it'll be about 16 hours a day that they'll sleep. So you want to keep that in mind. They should be sleeping for this rough amount of time. I do a lot of travel within the walks for my puppies, so I will take them to different places. So I might do one of the walks would be a woodland one. One of them might be around the lake, one of them might be in someone's garden. So 3 separate experiences in a day. When puppies sleep, they absorb the information and they learn. So I want them to sleep afterwards. I want them to have that nice rest afterwards. So I might do, this is where the on lead bit comes in. This is where my training bit comes in. When the puppy is off lead, I allow them majority of the time off lead. I will then do little bits for 30 seconds at a time where I'll put the lead on and I reward them, I interact with them, we do fun bits, so lots of fusses, rewarding for looking at me, rewarding the floor, moving along a few feet, and then I take it off. So they're learning when your lead goes on, interact with me. As soon as that lead goes on, this is great, this is brilliant, look at me, care about what I'm doing, and we'll walk a few feet together like this. And I gradually build on that. So they're not on lead for a huge amount of time because I don't need my dogs to be on lead a huge amount of time. As I say, generally I want them to be great with travel and then great off lead with a solid recall. So no matter where they are or what is going on, I can call their name and they'll run to me. So I don't really need them to be great on lead, but I like them to learn when your lead is attached, at least care that I'm on the end. But I build that in really gradually. The problem with what we all tend to do is the vet says now we can go out. So we put the lead on the puppy and we go out. So they're already fearful of the outside world. They're frustrated because they want to get to places that they can't, that they're now being held back from, that barrier frustration. They want to investigate everything, usually at 100 miles an hour, and they can't, but they've never had restriction before. They don't understand the restriction side of it. We know what a lead is for, a puppy does not know what a lead is for. So you end up with a puppy who learns to pull by default in order to get somewhere, because the first thing you taught them is when you go outside, you're attached to something and you have to pull against it. So it's a real pain in the butt, leads, and this is why I don't tend to use them. So I go to a safe space, I do travel, I do safe space, and then I build up the loose lead, walking in lots of different areas around lots of different distractions and things until I can use it wherever I need to, and then I can put it on from the house if I wanted to, or I could put it on to walk about around things, because the puppy knows lead goes on, pay attention to me. Socialising is important. As I said, I'm the protector, I'm the safety thing. I will do protect the puppy where I crouch down, I let them feel safe with me, and then let them interact if they want to. As with people, I don't leave it up to chance as to who they're going to meet. I will set up and ask people who have dogs that I know, whether it be friends, family, neighbours, anyone. I will even ask on Facebook who has a really, really calm dog who is not overexcitable and isn't interested in chasing after a ball, who can just come and meet my puppy. I'm going to be, I'll gladly come to wherever you are because this is going to really, really help me out. But I was planning on walking, you know, in whichever location. Please let me know. And I will ask people over and over and over again to make sure that the people I'm meeting with their dog, I know at least they believe their dog is socially confident and calm. So you stand a better chance than just meeting whoever you happen to meet out on a walk with their dog, because we all know that can go quite badly. Quite often people who have puppies are actually nervous about letting them off, or nervous about, are they going to come back? You know, the nerves are as much on the owner as they are on the puppy. You know, everyone's a bit nervous and anxious when they first go out. So we tend to go to fully enclosed fields. Not the hired ones, like the more like the enclosed sort of spaces or open spaces. The problem with that is this is where all the people go whose dogs don't listen, because they're safe spaces. So if they're safe spaces where the dog's not going to get hurt, you're much more likely to meet dogs who don't come back, because the owner knows they're not going to get injured. They're not going to get injured, they're not going to run off too far. It might be fully enclosed. You know, you get some of the Parks Trust fields around Milton Keynes. They're used a lot for dogs who don't listen, or dogs who are dodgy. So I avoid them like the plague. I actually go to places which are a bit closer to roads, not so close that my puppy's in danger, but close enough where I think if your dog didn't listen, you wouldn't have it off lead right now. Claire, this is so interesting. I know so many people who put a lead on a puppy and go for their daily walk straight from the house and stay on lead. Puppy either refuses to walk or pulls like a train. Yeah, that's generally it. Yeah, the refusing to walk is the fear and the uncertainty and the sudden lead thingy that's attached here, and they don't quite know what they're doing. The pulling like a train comes from when they learn they then have to do it, because that's what we're doing and the owner's going to make them do it. Remember that safety thing that I said about being that safe space? If the puppy's not happy, people don't do that. So the puppy learns, okay, well, if I'm attached to this, that means we're going that way, so I'll go that way first. Like they do with the jumping up at people. They know people are going to touch them, so they jump first and they get it out the way first. That's where the pulling comes from quite often. And then they just learn about the environment. They think, oh, this is great. The environment's so reinforcing. So then they just drag all over the place for smells and to see dogs, and you get barrier frustration where they just want to get something and they can't. You get barking, you get lunging. No good comes from leads at all. So, yeah, sorry. So yeah, you will see it a lot. If you start paying attention as well when you're out and about and you see people with puppies, you see what they do. And no one minds. When the puppy's like 8 weeks, 9 weeks old, that's ridiculous. No one takes a puppy out at 8 weeks old on lead. But like when they're like 12 weeks old and they're on lead, no one minds the pulling because they're not that strong. You get to some people who pull them back when they pull, which that logic doesn't work because you're pulling against pull. You're not teaching them anything. You're just making them slide across the floor and then they think they've got to go again. Then they slide across the floor and then they think they've got to go again. It doesn't teach anything. But yeah, if you kind of watch people, they're usually getting dragged by puppies. I absolutely love it. In fact, I pulled over the other day because I saw someone out with their Labrador puppy. I think it was a Labrador. It's like a fox red Labrador looking puppy. And the lead was so loose, it was just attached to the collar and the owner was looking down at the puppy and the puppy was looking and it was wiggling and they were walking so nicely together. And I pulled over because I just wanted to congratulate them and say how lovely it was to see and, you know, to keep going and that it looks great. And the puppy obviously seemed really happy, which I know is a bit of a creepy stalkery thing to do, but I was super happy that they were doing that with their dog. And it's a great start for the puppy. So I like to praise people when they're doing things right. See, positive reinforcement. So mixing with dogs. So classes. Let's talk about classes. Oh, classes. Okay, so no good dog trainer or behaviourist that I know would put their own puppy through their own classes. Now, think about that for a minute. So loads of brilliant dog trainers and behaviourists do run classes. The reason for that is because there's so many hideous dog trainers and behaviourists out there who use very horrible methods. Prong collars, choke chains, e-collars, spraying water, jerking leads, shouting. They run classes en masse. You'll have in excess of 10, 15 dogs there, sometimes more than 20, 30 dogs in a class. They run classes. So in order to ensure that all the puppies are not going to these people, the trainers and behaviourists who know that classes are no good for puppies will be forced to run them so that there is a better alternative, even though we know that it causes barrier frustration and we know it's setting you up to get it wrong. It's better to get it wrong with us in nice ways where the puppy is learning things and enjoying parts of it, even with the barrier frustration, than it is to go to them. So we didn't run classes for a very long time because I don't agree with them, because I know what it does. Even though very nice trainers, very nice behaviourists, we have very nice methods, we didn't run them. And then it started to get so popular in the other classes with the puppy booms that we then did start, and that was just to counteract all the ones that were going to the bad classes, and the classes that were not helpful for those puppies and that they were growing up with severe problems. So but most trainers and behaviourists who understand dogs, who have very, very good understanding of behaviour, would not put their own puppy through a class. Now, I know a fantastic puppy trainer, puppy and dog behaviourist who did run classes. Not local, she's not local anymore. Not local to Milton Keynes anymore, should I say. But she had her own puppy. She didn't put him in her classes. And I was chatting with her about it and she says, well, you know why I won't? And I said, I know why you won't. And it's not that you don't believe in your own classes, it's because you know what that does to puppies. And it's just not worth it because it's not real life. Classes are, what you do is you put your puppy on lead, you take them to somewhere where they're around loads of things that they can't interact with. So, people, dogs, there's smells, there's everything. They can't interact with any of these things, but they want to. And you expect them for an hour to be able to eat, focus, listen, learn. They have tiny attention spans of about 2 to 4 minutes when they are older, a minute if you're lucky when they're at puppy age. So they shouldn't be awake for an hour in one go either. So puppies of puppy class age should not be awake for an hour in one go. What they usually do is they sleep, They wake up, they eat, they go for a poo, go for a wee, go mad for a little bit. Then you have your focus time where they can learn, and then they sleep to absorb it again. And that happens in about 40 minutes. If you just plough them with food, or you're ploughing them with new information and they're not able to act naturally, then it's detrimental to their learning, and it's not good for them to be around so much they want to get to that they can't investigate and can't do, because it doesn't teach them anything. During that time, you're not teaching them not to, you're listening and learning from the trainer. And you can't listen and learn and do continuously. Certainly not if you're a first-time puppy owner. Experienced owners can, to an extent they can, but it's difficult still. And there are some things, so obviously there's things like ring craft classes, which if you're going to do show stuff, you will do, but there's a lot of movement in ring craft classes, and there's zero interaction with other dogs as far as I'm aware with other puppies or other dogs. And the reason for that is because you don't when you do showing. So ring craft classes are for teaching dogs how to be show dogs, and they don't interact show dogs at all. So when it comes to puppy training classes, what can often happen is they then do free time with the puppies, where they then get to play. And this is where you'll get your bully dogs, your confident dogs, your fearful dogs, and your terrified dogs. And there's so much wrong with all of that situation, setup and learning history that your puppy doesn't need. Just take them outside, set it up with your friends, your neighbours, your relatives, ask for people on Facebook, because they will be better. It's better for your puppy to mix with adult calmer dogs than it is for them to mix with a load of puppies who haven't got a clue what they're doing. So puppies generally don't learn anything good from other puppies because they're all learning. They don't know what they're doing. None of them know what they're doing. So they're all just chaotic, crazy, making their own learning experiences, absorbing information as they're going along. They're not actually doing anything good. So what you need is them learning from adult dogs who are mature, or who do have the self-confidence and the good social skills. And sure, you might meet some rambunctious ones occasionally, and your puppy may be a boisterous puppy. In that case, great, mix them with older dogs who have the manners and the skill set to be able to say, yeah, we can play, but don't be too much. Claire, what is your view on puppy parties held at the vets? I'm not sure they're a great idea. See, two parts to that. They're a good idea because they allow puppies to not be scared of the vets potentially. If they're one of the boisterous ones, the confident ones, the ones who like people, investigating new places and puppies and being with dogs, they are brilliant for desensitising that puppy to the vets, because they will not have a fear association with the vets, they will have a fun association with the vets. However, you now have a puppy who, when it grows into an adult dog, firmly believes that when we go to the vets, we play with other dogs. That's what we do when we come here. We come and we play and we mix with everybody. So now you've got an adult dog of adult dog size who you're trying to keep calm in a waiting room. These are usually your dogs who are lunging at everything, barking at everything and going, come on, come on, come on, let's play. That's usually ones who've been to puppy parties. If you get your fearful puppies or nervous ones who have not didn't enjoy that experience because they were chased by a puppy who wanted to play. Now, this is what everyone says, oh, he wants to play. Doesn't matter if the other one's terrified. So if one is terrified, they are learning a huge fear association with the vets. Massive. And this is the same as in puppy classes, puppy socialising, puppy and anything where there's a load of puppies together or a load of dogs together. It's often you get ones who are fearful, who are not enjoying it, who will run because they're being chased, not because they enjoy being a chasee, which is different. And it's just not, I don't see it as a great idea. I would much prefer, and I do, take my puppy to the vets on a one-on-one basis, because that's how they need to be in the vets. For the rest of their life, when they go to the vets, they're not going to be there with other dogs and other puppies and need to mix with them. I need them to learn to go in, be confident, be still, be calm, and be happy in standing still, being examined by people. That's what I need my puppy to learn. So I don't like to mix that association of when you go to a vet, you play, or you run for your life, one or the other. Also, vets, unless it is a clinical vet behaviourist, are not trained in behaviour, like I am not trained in medical veterinary things. So they may not understand what is happening in the puppy socialising dynamic as well as they could or should if they are hosting these. Rebecca, would you say puppy socialising classes are just as detrimental, disappeared, as the training classes? I think you may have just answered this. Socialising with adult dogs preferred. Yes, definitely, yeah. Any kind of like puppy training classes, puppy socialising classes, puppy parties, anything where there are multiple dogs or puppies is a no-go for when they're learning. So I don't like it. There's way too many personalities for the puppies to try, and bear in mind they're learning at this point. These are their first experiences of dogs. They're trying to absorb the information and the body language being given to them by 6 other puppies. So they're trying to interact with this one, but they're reading that one, and that one looks wide-eyed, and that one is making a lot of noise, and this one's leaping at me. And they've got to try and be okay with that. And it's not natural and it's not normal, because even if you would say, I plan to take my dog's training classes every day, every week for the rest of their life, why you would do that, I don't know. But some people like to go to training classes and they enjoy the social aspect of it. So even if you were one of these, for 1 hour out of your dog's week in their life is not the majority. The majority of the time, they're in your home, they're in your garden, they're on the walks that you're going to take them on. So these are the places you need to get them listening to you, being confident, being calm, being socialised and being relaxed. And that is where they need it at, and the car. They don't need it anywhere else. So taking them to classes is completely false environment that is just creating lots and lots of bad habits for your puppy that they do not need. So even if I were to set up classes here for puppies, which would only be to counterbalance other people anyway, I wouldn't put my own puppy in it. Not at all. Nope. Because it's not what they need. It's not good for them. So I wouldn't do that, because that's not everyday life and that's not what I need them to learn. So it's a pointless situation to put them in, as far as I'm concerned. So lots of mini positive interactions continuously is what they need in different environments with different dogs, with different people, that you can set up as best you possibly can. So at the point where you know you're going to get a puppy, you start contacting everybody you know. How available are you around this week? Do you have a dog? What is your dog like? What's your dog like with other dogs? Have you got any videos of your dog with other dogs if you're really obsessive like I am? It's like, can I see it before I put my puppy near it, please? And, you know, really focusing on everything going as well to plan as you possibly can for those early stages, because they're so important. You can't redo them. You get them once. Don't get it wrong. Vicky, when Pippa showed reactivity for the first time, I was wondering if I overdid the socialising twice a week. Possibly. So it depends on if she was a fearful one. So she went to classes, I believe, Pippa. Was she a fearful one? Was she a forward one? Generally speaking, the ones who aren't confident and kind of hold back, they're not enjoying the situation. Those who are really boisterous, some of them can be doing that, I'll get you before you get me. You know, and I'll appear confident. You know, like a bully dog in school, they appear confident, and it's because they're absolutely wetting themselves on the inside, so they give this big show up. Dogs do that brilliantly. Yes, fearful. Yeah, so unfortunately what's likely to have been happening is you were accidentally practicing her being fearful around dogs twice a week. So rather than doing definitely as you thought, you know, like the training and socialising and desensitising her, what was actually happening is she was practicing being scared and seeing what worked. So in her learning history, it's what works to get these puppies away from me, or for me to leave this situation. You know, if they're on leads, what works in me getting away from this sooner? And that will be what she's learning and what she's developing, and that's what's getting stronger. So it is really hard, because you can't go back, you can't change what you did, can't change what anything did, you know, you can't change situations. And to be totally honest, something could come out in the middle of nowhere that you have no control over and cause a huge problem for your dog. You can't control every situation. You know, it's like a car accident. You can't control a car accident happening, but you certainly try to drive safely and, you know, plan your route and know where you're going and know what you're doing, and you learn how to drive prior to that, and you get lots of experience as you're going along. You do that to prevent car accidents from happening. You don't put yourself in danger intentionally, but sometimes they happen. So it's very much a similar way of thinking when it comes to puppies. You try and do everything you can that's best, and my personal opinion is do not put them in classes. And if anyone tries to push you to put them in classes, I would walk away from them because they're not helpful. So I'll talk about day one for a minute. Day one with your puppy. We'll rewind a little bit. So as I said, I always do garden first. Garden first happens. So when you come back with your puppy, they go in the garden first of all. Now I'm going to assume for the purpose of this that you do not have an existing dog. However, if you did, I would let them do the garden first and then allow the other dog to come out whilst doing protect the puppy for the puppy, and maybe protect the dog for the dog if the dog is a bit unsure. Once they've said their hello, big dog then goes out for a walk. This is the only exception for having people come in and out the house because you've got an existing dog. So big dog goes out the house for their big walk. And this allows the puppy to explore the home on their own without the influence of the other dog and without the other dog having an influence of the puppy. So they can get used to their environment. But from now, we're going to assume you do not have another dog. You just have your puppy. So you let them explore everywhere, let them kind of see what's around. Your first thing then is going to be meal times. So I like to feed them in their safe area. For the first few days, probably first week, I don't use anything that is enrichment based or slowing or scatter feeding. I don't tend to do that. I just go with, here's your meal, you can have it. Because I don't want there to be any frustrations around food. I like to watch them and see, are you a guarder of food? Are you relaxed around food? Do you need to rush to eat it? Are you eating slowly? Do you like your food? I like to check all these things out. So for the first week, I just feed them in their spot where I want them to see as a valuable place. For me, this would be a pen area that is movable in different places. You can feed them in a quiet place. Some people like to feed them in a kitchen because the floor's easier cleaned, or you might like to feed them in the garden. It depends, but I personally feed them in the spot I want them to find most valuable. I keep meals frequent, very, very frequent. So for me, I feed 4 meals a day to puppies from until they're 16 weeks old, which is 4 months. So that is definitely happening. Until they're 4 months old, they're on 4 meals a day. I drop them to 3 meals a day until they're 9 months. So 3 meals from 4 months to 9 months. And then 2 meals a day from a year onwards, but they have bones in the middle because mine are raw fed. I choose raw feeding over anything else, and I give pure meat for treats. So actual meat that you would eat that is just a protein. This is where I feed them meals, but note that I also give chews and treats throughout the day as well, and Kongs and licky mats and things. But as I said, for the first week, it's just meals and treats alone. And I make sure they eat regularly. Puppies who eat regularly, not only do they toilet regularly, they sleep regularly, which is very important. Gives them that feel-good feeling and that ability to chew and relieve themselves of like excitement, stresses and things through chewing through their food regularly throughout the day. And if they're not hungry, they're going to be more sleepy and less bitey. So there's quite a common theme with puppies who I have been to go and see and who I have worked with. They're very bitey and they are very early drop down to 2 meals a day. I like to put them up to 3 or 4 again. So it just helps to keep them regular in their gut. 3-second rule applies. Everybody in the house and anyone who comes to the house, bear in mind the first 20 people aren't going to be meeting the pup, aren't going to say hello to the puppy anyway, but after that, 3-second rule applies, which is if the puppy is sleeping or resting, you leave them well alone, you do not touch them. You make sure that they come to you if they want fuss. You are not going over to them. You're not bothering them because we want them to sleep. We want them to rest. We want them to feel confident in their surroundings. As much as we love to go and touch puppies all the time, puppies actually get a quick startle response where they are sleeping or resting and someone touches them, however nicely, stroke down their back, it makes them jump because they weren't expecting it. And they learn to not fully switch off, not fully sleep because the handsy people are around. Quite often people say, oh, the puppy sleeps well overnight, but they don't sleep so well in the day. I think, no, that's because the handsy people are about. So you make sure that if they're resting and they're fully awake, you can definitely go and reward that. And I do, because as I said, I reward the life out of do nothing. Resting and just chilling is do nothing. Chewing on their toys, I will go and place a treat next to them if they're chewing on their toys. If I want to start a game with a puppy, I will get a toy from I have loads of toys on the floor, but I will get one and I will move it away from the puppy from a different part of the room. So I'm wiggling it across the floor away and I'm animating the toy away from them. So it's a chase thing. I'm not in their face going, what's this? Care about this, which people do so often, and it really aggravates dogs. Puppies don't like that. And they will bite and they will play, but not because they want to, but because you're forcing them to do it. You're being really annoying. You imagine if you're just sat there and someone does this in your face with a toy, and it's just irritating. So what you do is you try and get along the floor instead, away from them. Give them the option. Do you want to come and play? Do you want to come and do the toys? We'll do toys if you want to. I can be a play outlet too, but only if you want to. If you want to come over. And puppies are so nosy. Oh my God, they're nosy. So if you're wiggling something, they're definitely going to come and run over and grab hold of the toy, because that's what they do. That's their instinct is to go and do that. So chances are you'll get a game like that, which is good. And as I said, you want to do, they sleep, they toilet, they eat, do it in crazy time, and then do a bit of training to calm down before they sleep again. I ensure chewables are everywhere. Toys, chewables, anything that I want you to put your teeth on is all over the floor, all the time in the first few weeks. And that's because it makes it much, much, much more likely they're going to chew that rather than something of mine. Don't particularly care if they pick up something of mine. Chances are I'm probably going to use that as a practice recall opportunity, give them some treats, and because puppies have the attention span of a gnat, the chances of them going back over to that item and not the other things is slim. So I can then pick it up at a point later on if it's mine. Unless it's poisonous or dangerous to them, I don't particularly worry. I just call them over so they stop chewing it. I schedule nap times as well, just like you would with, I say like you would with babies. I've never had a baby. I assume people do this, I don't know. But you need to make sure that they sleep regularly. So as I said, if you can predict feeding times and toileting times, you can then predict sleeping times. And they need the 20 hours. So if you think about if they're sleeping for 20 hours out the day, and if you're doing 90 minutes out the house a day, and I worked that out based on 3 15-minute walk exercise things a day with 10 minutes travel in the car either way to wherever you're going for each one. That means you're out of the house with the puppy for 90 minutes a day. Now, if you can't manage that, I'm not quite sure why you'd get a puppy, because when they get to adult size, they're going to need to be walking for an hour. They're going to need to be out for 90 minutes. That's normal. That's quite, you know, for an active young dog, that's what you expect. So if you can't dedicate 90 minutes to them in a day, you might want to question getting a puppy in the first place. But so 90 minutes out, and what else did I write down here? I hate it when I scribble. See, maths I can't do. They are then, it means they're awake. That's it, yeah. So that means that they're awake for 4 hours a day in theory. 90 minutes out of that, you're out the house for. And then they have to eat and toilet within the other bit as well. So in theory, you only have to entertain this puppy through means of training, playing, grooming, cuddling and interaction for about an hour and a half to 2 hours a day before they're 16 weeks old. That's all you really have to do with them, because they sleep so much and they should sleep a lot. And then it gradually just becomes more. So as long as you're planning your time well, you get these little pockets of time where you have to entertain them and where you're rewarding what you like and where you're interacting and you're doing bits of grooming and you know, little bits of playing, and then they sleep again. So that's right. That's my basic bit on what I suggest people do with puppies in the first few weeks they have them. So a lot of it is just repeat what you're doing. It takes a lot of setting up to do, because you should be setting this up. This is a thing that's going to affect your life for 15 years potentially. It could potentially be a really strong dog when they're older. They could potentially have real strong genetic drives to be antisocial or protective or stressy, or, you know, they're going to have all these things that you have to work towards. So for the first few weeks, that is literally what I focus my attention on. And that is just to make sure that everything goes as well as it can. Training does not even really come into what I do to begin with. It's all about life skills. Life skills are what you want to focus on. And whilst you're at it, make sure every single person in the house or who lives in the household is on board with what you're doing. So you want to write out, what are we happy with, what are we not? Is the dog going to be allowed on the sofa? Are they going to be allowed on the bed? Are they going to be allowed, you know, how long do we need them to be left alone for? Eventually, not yet, eventually. When you know these things, then you can start to create plans of where you're happy for them being and put focus in that. But everyone needs to be on board. You can't have one person say, I don't want them on the sofas, and one person says it's fine. You need to decide which is it. Is it fine? Is it not fine? Same for beds, same for rooms, same for everything. Is it fine or is it not fine? And then we go with that. Even if someone isn't completely happy with it, it needs to be unanimous everywhere.